Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I will be reviewing the book The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, first book in the Hunger Games trilogy. I was not a big reader when this book series was coming out. I had a friend in elementary school when the movies were coming out that absolutely loved this book series. That was the only thing she talked about. And so I already knew basics of it, and I watched the first movie, in like 2012, 2013, sometime after it came out. And, I was a kid. It just didn't register as much with me. And haven't read the series, even though I've been a reader recently, because I'm not a big YA reader traditionally. I traditionally like adult novels. But I've been on something of a YA kick recently, since I'm going to be teaching younger students. I want to be reading students or books that they'll be reading as well. And I picked this trilogy up. I got the first book in paperback, and it was absolutely destroyed when I got it, but it was the only copy I could find that wasn't new. And so I just got this crusty, falling apart paperback. And then I got two hardcovers. I got the hardcover Catching Fire and the hardcover of Mockingjay. And I intend to read both of these books in the next couple of months. But my book review today is just of the first Hunger Games book. I recently I broke the golden rule of book nerds. The golden rule of book nerds is read the book before you watch the movie. I have broken this rule sometimes. I have followed it other times. I broke it with this one because I was in a friend group during college that every Saturday night we got together as a group and we would watch a movie or movies that the group hadn't seen before. And most of the people in my friend group had not seen The Hunger Games. And so we said, let's watch them. And we did, and we loved them. We watched all 4 movies. And after that, I was like, I need to buy the books, which is what I did. And so I read the first book, and I was actually very impressed by the book. Much more impressed than I expected. I thought I'd be like, okay, I see what it was big, but whatever. No, I loved this book. I had so much fun reading it, even though I knew exactly what would happen because the movie really followed it pretty faithfully. There's a few subplots and little moments from the book that don't make it into the movie, and there's also a lot of context that the book has that the movie doesn't have. But it's still, the movie's a pretty faithful adaptation. So as I was reading it, I was like, oh yeah, this is that scene, so I could picture it perfectly in my mind because of that. And it was quite an enjoyable read. This was one of the few hybrids I did. I read the first 40% of the book in audiobook as I was driving for an event recently. I had to drive for about 4 hours. So I listened to the audiobook during that. And then I read the rest of the book, a physical copy, when I got home that night. And it was a really great experience. I thought the audiobook narrator did a great job. And then I also think that the prose works very well. I think that this gives me several vibes in this writing style that Harry Potter did. And ironically, both were published by Scholastic, and the first Hunger Games book came out right after the last Harry Potter novel came out. So I just thought that was kind of humorous. And I really liked the style, I liked the themes, I liked the world building, I liked the characters, I really liked the book. So the first thing I'll talk about is the characterization of Katniss. Because the book is a first-person book, we are completely seeing everything through her eyes. The movie is able to show other characters' perspectives and add in little cutscenes of President Snow and of the Game Makers and of Peeta. Like it has time to do that type of thing. Whereas this book is entirely from her perspective, and as such, she's really well personified. I thought that Jennifer Lawrence can do a good job acting, and she did a lot with what she was given, but there's certain things she couldn't do because we couldn't fully get in her mind. And this book, I like how much we get into the mind of Katniss. Katniss in this book is really insecure, and it's very interesting because she thinks she's not as good as she is. She's amazing at archery. She has incredible influence. She has this anti-charisma that actually works in her favor. at times. And yet she refuses to believe it. She thinks she's a failure. She thinks she's nothing compared to Peeta. Whereas Peeta downplays himself, and he thinks that Katniss is really good at everything and is really important. And so it's interesting seeing their opinions of each other. There are also times where Katniss's the information she has is not complete, and so she doesn't know, is Peeta right about this? Is he wrong? Is he trying to help me? Is he not? Is he trying to hurt me? Like, she's trying to understand Peeta. And I really liked how unsure she was, because in this situation, it makes sense that she'd be unsure. In the movie, it is just like painfully obvious that Peeta's in love with Katniss. But in the book, it takes a while for that to happen. I am assuming that most people watching this video know the basic spoilers, at least of the first film. I won't get into the later, but at least of the first film and book. So spoilers for that. This book, it's more murky than it is in the movie, and I kind of liked that. It was interesting, at least until the end. So I liked what they did with Katniss. I also really liked what they did with Peeta and with Gale. I thought that Gale was fine in the movie, but he didn't do anything for me, and I still don't care for him as a character, but I think that he works better in the book, and he feels more connected to Katniss, and he feels more important to the story here, and because you can see her thoughts about Gale throughout, the real difficulty that she doesn't view him necessarily as a romantic interest, but if things had gone differently, perhaps he would have become a romantic interest for her. You just don't know. So I think that is a very interesting perspective that Gale has, and so I liked, and he gets more dialogue in this book than in the movie, which I liked. But I am, as with many YA books, there's like love triangles and like teams. I am all the way Team Peeta because I love the character of Peeta. I think that he's great. I really like him in the movies, and I like him in the book. I thought in the book, of course, he was more murky, but I did like him, and I was rooting for Katniss to get together with him in the book. And the ending, it's just so painful because of where it leaves you, where you don't know, and the characters don't really know what's going to happen and how their relationship actually is. It's very murky, which I enjoyed. This book has many deep themes about government, deep themes about war, about retaliation. This book has, there's the civil war that erupts between the districts and the capital, and the capital slams down the districts, destroys District 13, and really harms the rest of the districts and makes them send two champions every year for the Hunger Games. And it shows what happens when a government goes too far. Sometimes you have to have punishments in post-war. Sometimes you have to have Nuremberg trials. Sometimes you have to root out the people who were in charge and give them a fair trial, but try them and have justice. But there's also an element of the people shouldn't be continually punished for the sins of the fathers, and not just the people then, but the people generations. This goes on for 74 years. The way that it's explored that, these are the great-great-grandchildren of the people who rebelled, and so it's not their fault. And so I really liked how this book explores how having too heavy retaliation can sometimes be bad. I don't know which war in particular Suzanne Collins was borrowing from, but I did like the way that she was exploring those themes. Like, someone could do a very similar book, but set it in modern day, set it post-World War II, maybe, or set it post-Civil War or something. That would be an interesting type story. But this one, it's much more futuristic, apocalyptic, that type of thing. And so I loved the deep themes there. It also explores themes about an armed citizenry. Should the citizenry be armed? Should there be militias? Should the people be able to defend themselves? Should the government have the right to tell the people they can't be armed? It's very complex, and it's not easily answered. And I like that this book at least shows the issues without hitting you over the head. You have to think about what the author's talking about. It's not like she's just saying, people need guns or people don't need guns. It's a very nuanced conversation, which I liked. There's also just themes about the scope and level of government. What constitutes good government? Should the government be spending all of its money helping individual citizens? Should it be helping build businesses? Should it be helping doing other things? It's a very complex conversation, and it leads to great dialogue and great thoughts from the reader that stick with them. I also really liked how appropriate the book was. There are several scenes in here that if another author was in charge, another YA author, they would have totally gone for more overt sexual moments. And I am so glad that they did not do that in this book, because it seems more universally appropriate for kids. Even though this book deals with heavy concepts of kids murdering other kids, yes, but it has a very central theme and reason why that's important. But it doesn't add gratuitousness to it. It doesn't spend a whole lot of time describing all the gruesome murders, yet it dwells on how bad it is. It shows you why these murders are wrong, but yet doesn't show too much to be gratuitous. There is kissing, there is romance, which I do like romance in my books, but it doesn't get too far and go to the point where, okay, I wouldn't let one of my kids read this book. I liked that this book had that balance that I thought was really good of appropriateness. And so I really enjoyed this book. I don't know what else I can really add that other people haven't. The first movie was my least favorite of the 4 movies, so if that's an indication, I'm gonna love the next 2 books, because I love this one. I give it a 9.0 out of 10. Solid book. I would have had maybe another 50 pages, maybe set a little bit in the beginning, a little bit in the middle, and a little bit afterwards, exploring the characters, exploring maybe some of her stuff with Gale a little bit more, exploring stuff that happened a little bit afterwards. I really think it's really a solid book, so I highly enjoyed it, and I can totally understand why it blew up when it did. So that is my review of The Hunger Games. If you've read this book, and if you're watching a book channel, you probably have read it, and you're probably saying, Jonathan, why'd you wait so long? One of my friends who works at the school I work at, she came up and she was like, how have you not read The Hunger Games? It was really funny. But if you've read this book, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm getting into all sorts of book genres, YA, adult, fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian, all this stuff. You can find the channel, and until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.